I'm not gonna let my son get down in no foolishness. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for.
Well, everybody trying to make my stock drop right now, so who knows, man?
I don't know.
Big thing here in the news. I'm very interested to see what is going on here. Shedeur Sanders, who is set to be one of the top quarterbacks in this draft. Now it's looking like Cam Ward is for sure the #1 pick based on all the draft experts. I mean, we have surprises every year, but I feel like last year and when it comes to the year before, 2023, 2024, when it comes to the NFL draft, we really didn't have any surprises besides the Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. If any other team would have taken him around that same time, I don't think it would be that surprising. Bo Nix was a little surprising being taken early, but if you were following the news, you knew that Sean Payton liked Bo Nix. Now, what we have going on here and what makes this a little more interesting is the fact that Geno Smith, who did not write back though, the former Seattle Seahawks quarterback, former Jets second-round pick in 2013, and now the Raiders quarterback teaming up with Pete Carroll. And I got to tell you, man, I haven't really been this optimistic since the Raiders had Derek Carr with Geno Smith. So I'm really excited to see him get his opportunity. I think he's a high character guy and has plenty left in the tank too. So I'm really excited to see what happens there. But let's talk about Shedeur Sanders in particular. This is the difficult thing that I think is hard for us to decipher. Is this cloud of Deion Sanders over Shedeur helping his draft stock, or is it tanking it? Do people find that, I don't really know if I want to roll with this guy. Deion's going to be all up in the business. And this was a legit concern at the NFL Combine. You have Vic Tafur of The Athletic, who's been writing there for like 20 years. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but he's been writing there for a long time. This guy knows his stuff. And he was saying two things that he heard the most this week are that teams are worried about Shedeur's baggage and were really impressed with Jalen Milroe's interviews. And there's another thing that's going on too. The New York Giants, who are picking at pick 3, they have met up with Russell Wilson and they're interested in Aaron Rodgers. Now, if you're picking at pick 3 and if Shedeur Sanders is really a franchise quarterback, if you're the Giants, man, I know you want to win now in 2025 because you're on the hot seat. John Mara, the owner of the Giants, has pretty much told Brian Dable and, the GM Schoen over there that they got 1 year to figure this shit out. And if they don't, it's sayonara. If Shedeur's really like supposed to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, I don't see why there's such reluctance from the Giants and from other members of the media to say that the Giants are gonna take him or have their solution at quarterback at pick 3. It seems like the media and the fact that the Giants are meeting with other QBs like Russell Wilson, like they want Aaron Rodgers. To me, that just shows that they don't think Shedeur Sanders could be a starting quarterback in the NFL this year for sure, and will take some time. And when we're hearing these questions about Shedeur Sanders, the baggage of having somebody like Deion, even if Deion's a great guy, I don't know if people have different opinions about the Sanders family because of the flashiness, right? And the confidence, which could be characterized as cockiness, right? That rubs some people the wrong way. Some people enjoy that. It's kind of difficult to decipher. But aside from that, if you're really not looking for a QB to start in year 1, you're going to roll with a veteran anyways. I find it quite interesting that we're talking about Jalen Milroe doing well in interviews, because if you're just looking for an athletic guy, this dude is way more athletic than Shedeur Sanders, and maybe you opt to take him in the 2nd or 3rd round than picking high and have him sit behind a veteran QB. So Shedeur was addressing these concerns. We see him, we'll talk more about him working out with Geno Smith because we know Shedeur Sanders and Deion are good friends with Tom Brady. But okay, before we get into Shedeur at the Combine and some other stuff that's been said, him talking about his draft stock, let's just talk about this. Geno Smith is supposed to get a contract extension with the Raiders. And what's really interesting is it turned out that the Seahawks were kind of not being 100% about what exactly happened in these contract negotiations. So
did he ever counter it?
Right. So the idea is that the Seahawks offer $35 million and they're trying to say that Geno just said, oh, well, I want to leave and play with Pete Carroll, so I'm dipping out. Mike Garofalo of NFL Network is kind of saying something a little different here.
Yeah, he wanted 45.
He wanted 45.
And they were around, 35?
Yeah.
So it was a sizable gap. And in the end, could it have been bridged at 40? Probably.
So interesting thing there. Now, I don't want to show too much of that, but Mike Garofalo basically saying Geno wanted 45 and Seahawks said, no, we want you at 35. And then he dipped to the Raiders. Raiders, so the bro's gonna get 45. Raiders got cash to give 45. Shedeur good friends with Tom Brady. Dion good friends with Tom Brady. Is this really a situation? I mean, I could definitely see Shedeur fall into pick 6. We're gonna talk more about Shedeur in just a couple seconds. I can see Shedeur fall into freaking, I hate to say it, dude, I could see him going late in the first round. Shedeur, it is getting so bad where we kept joking around about, oh, will the Cowboys move on from Dak and draft Shedeur because Jerry Jones loves freaking Deion Sanders. This, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this happens on draft night. It is getting to that point. I could even see if the Giants do not take Shedeur Sanders, I could even see the Cowboys trading back and grabbing Shedeur Sanders. And if he's a QB who has to sit for a year or two anyways, so what? So what? Let him sit behind Dak and then move on from Dak. And dude, you think Cowboys fans like this is all about money. Shedeur doesn't even have to be great or contribute immediately to the team if he joins the Cowboys for them to make money. They will make serious cash if Shedeur rolls through in that Dallas Cowboys uniform. We had this update in February 28th of Shedeur at the Combine, and then after the Combine, we had a very alarming update where Shedeur is starting to sound insecure. That I'm gonna do a little rap for Shedeur Sanders since he has his music Perfect Timing, his hit song, which honestly is not that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse, but Shedeur Perfect Timing is not that bad. This was Shedeur Sanders.
I've been through 6 different OCs, you know, so I'm able to adjust to any offense in every scheme and make it work. We went from Jack State to Colorado and changed 2 programs back to back. So you don't think I could come to an NFL franchise and change a program again? It's history. We done it again. So it's gonna repeat itself.
All right, so the dude is very confident. You don't think that I could come in the NFL and change an organization? I did it in Colorado. I did it, you know, with the HBCUs. But then when he was collaborating with a streamer, and this is after the Combine, after he's met with some teams, after we started getting some reports and rumors about where Shedeur Sanders may land when it comes to this draft, and now we're not getting the optimism that we saw earlier.
Dude, what you doing wearing that hat?
Man, I'm a Raider fan, man.
All right.
I'm praying for you, man.
You want him to go to Raiders?
I want you to go to Raiders so bad. I hope the God they trade up for you. But
well, everybody trying to make my stock drop right now, so who knows, man?
nah, hell no.
So there you hear it. It's a Raiders fan talking to Shedeur. I hope they draft you. I hope they trade up. And one thing that I noticed, I do like body language, and some people say I'm looking too into it. Right when he says trade up, you can see like Shedeur kind of acknowledges that that's very unrealistic.
I hope the God they trade up for you. But
you know, he looks down rather than continuing to look up. I know that I'm analyzing the body language too much, but I think this is a serious thing. I mean, the people do react physically. By the way, look it up, bro. They even say like 90% of communication is nonverbal. So if you're not studying body language, you're studying nothing. And then he's talking about the draft stock.
Well, everybody trying to make my stock drop right now, so who knows, man?
nah, hell no. We're Raiders.
Trying to make it drop. You know just how life get. But it is what it is. It's fool's gold. It ain't real. Don't believe media. But yeah.
It ain't real, don't believe media. And I'm just like, this guy's always been super confident. Like, that's how we know Shedeur Sanders. He's Deion's kid. He's confident. And if you don't like that, like, you're just a hater is sort of the narrative that they've put together. And look, I do think an element of that is true. I do think that he faces more criticism because he is Deion Sanders' kid. However, these guys are really confident and cocky all the time. I mean, let's just like that's still true at the end of the day. And I'm seeing less confidence from Shedeur Sanders. This is right before free agency. This was on March 6th. Free agency happened on March 12th, 13th-ish, right? And we've seen Geno Smith join the Raiders. And even though these guys are hanging out, posing pictures together, by the way, it was Shedeur Sanders who originally posted this. Geno Smith reposted this picture. And I just feel like, and look, this is me guessing. I'm not going to say that I know that they're doing this or whatnot, but from what I can tell, I mean, you guys can tell me if you feel the same way. I think he's trying to inflate his draft stock before the draft, which he should definitely do. I mean, it's in his rational interest to pump up his draft stock as much as possible right before the draft so he can get the biggest contract in the first round, hopefully not fall to the second round and don't get one of those late round first round picks. So I think he's trying to do this. I think he's trying to drum up interest by saying, ooh, maybe the Raiders are interested in me. Let me take a little pick with Geno, right? We saw him do this in January. Yeah, he was throwing passes to Malik Neighbors in New York. This was kind of another stunt to show like, hey, maybe I'm going to join the Giants here, right? This was in December. And, he's smart in that way, like Deion Sanders. Shedeur knows how to work the media to his advantage. And hats off to him and hats off to Deion, because so many times in the NFL, players get screwed by the media and the media plays them and does things to hurt their financial security, does things to hurt their negotiations and contract talks, right? So he knows how to play the media, and a lot of respect for him, even though personally, I personally, my opinion on this, and I'm not claiming to be the biggest expert in the world, personally, it's quite obvious that Cam Ward is the number one quarterback in the draft and Shedeur Sanders is not. And prior to going into free agency, a lot of people were even considering maybe Shedeur Sanders will be the first quarterback picked in the draft after going through that Colorado Buffalo season. That's what a lot of NFL insiders are saying. That's what was on television, right? If you're talking about the draft. And now it's clearly not the case. And I think the fact that teams wanted to pay Geno Smith $45 million. Teams wanted to give like the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, $33 million a year. Teams are right now fighting for Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson, not so much, but the Giants and the Steelers are fighting for Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about that later on the stream. But clearly, these teams are very scared about just taking Shedeur Sanders, because you would just do it with a first round pick and you wouldn't be hunting for these other options too. Especially considering the fact that the Browns, who are going to have the second pick in the draft, traded for Kenny Pickett, and they're now trying to get Russell Wilson. I mean, that's just crazy. And what's interesting about the Browns is we know Myles Garrett was upset about his situation with Cleveland and he got a fat contract. Was it the money that shut him up? Because he got $40 million a year. He's getting paid $5 million more a year than Max Crosby. And I put these guys, in the same class, right? But now it's seeming like he knows what's going to happen with the QB situation. Now he's trying to argue that's part of the reason why he's down to stay. Maybe the Browns, out of all these teams, if the Giants aren't sold out on him, maybe the Browns could be the team that surprises everybody and takes Shedeur Sanders, have him work with Deshaun Watson.
I mean, do you have an idea?
After conversations, I do have an idea.
Okay. Do you like the idea?
I like it enough to be here smiling in front of you, because I think we have a good chance of that happening and making the most out of it.
A good chance of that happening. Like, this was recorded after free agency. Free agency is pretty much over. It's like, do you want Rodgers? Do you want Russell Wilson? Other than that, like, I don't really know who we're waiting for. Is there a veteran QB that's on the trade block that we don't know of? I don't think so. Really? I mean, there's nobody. If I'm Shedeur Sanders, man, at this point, I'm hoping that the Browns take me, which is funny because we started this whole draft cycle thing. We started it out with Deion being like, oh, if I don't like the team, he ain't gonna play there. I mean, let's just, for shits and giggles, we gotta bring that back. It's so funny that it started out with, oh, Deion has all the cards, and if he doesn't want to play for the Browns, we're gonna pull Eli. We ain't playing there. And now it's completely flipped. We're like, people are seriously wondering, will Shedeur be a first rounder? Like that, it would not be surprising at all if it's a Will Levis situation.
Don't think I'm not gonna sit there like a navigational system. That's my son. I'm not gonna let my son get down in no foolishness. It's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. So it's not like that. But
when we're talking about a couple of teams that you want to allow him to play for, we think about Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's just, I feel for Browns fans because they got rid of the guy who may have been the solution the whole time, Baker Mayfield, because he had a bad year with a messed up shoulder, and they dumped his ass when they shouldn't have, right? And that may have been the only guy who was willing to save the franchise, and he really put Cleveland on his back, man. Right now, Deion's best hope is that his kid goes to the Browns. If his kid does not go to the Browns, he's going to be a backup quarterback somewhere in the second round. Maybe you get lucky in the back of the first round and you have a Lamar Jackson situation, right? Where he was picked 32, sat the majority of the year behind Joe Flacco and eventually took over. But I can't really see a team where that's happening, right? And from what we're hearing, a lot of these people don't seem hungry for Shedeur on the team. And quite possibly, maybe it's all smoke. Maybe we'll find out randomly one day. Pick 6, the Raiders make it happen. Geno Smith's going to mentor him for 2 years while he's making $45 million a year. I don't know. I don't think so. I think Geno Smith's going to be on the Raiders for 3 years. I think he's going to have a lot of guarantees in that contract. And if you're paying a veteran quarterback serious money, the worst thing you could do at pick 6 or in the top pick of the NFL draft is, instead of building a Super Bowl team or a playoff team by drafting a elite blue chip player, which you can do in the top 15 picks in the NFL, you waste a draft pick on his replacement. That'd be a stupid decision that a lot of people would criticize for years to come. So I think Shedeur Sanders' outlook and future, if the Giants and Browns don't get him, which looks like not, is very grim. I will say it's very grim.